Alright, for this part of the guidebook, we're just gonna probably hang out on the shooting range for most of it. This is gonna be pretty simple. So, to start this out, before anyone asks, the goal of today's video is going to be weapons and how I select them. And this is completely my opinions, kind of my decisions on why I do this. So I'm going to start off with the biggest deciding factor in what weapon I'm going to bring is the range I intend to really be taking on other operators. You know, is it a map like is it a map like Farm where there's a lot of close range combat? A lot of people are going to go more towards the motel or the stables. With a great trade center, even, you know, what is the basic flow of play through that map, and what do I need to look for? Because if I'm looking for PvP, then realistically, there's probably some kind of class of weapons that's going to succeed more. For me, I personally tend to stay away from shotguns. There's only a handful of SMGs. There's 3 SMGs actually that I will use. The P90 being one, the MP5 being another, and the MPX being the third. I have not tried the Banshee yet, but I'll give that the honorable mention just until I give it a shot myself. Now, what you see here is pretty much not exact, but pretty close to how I set things up. For me, I like to have the flashlight. The UV light is something I'm trying out now. I haven't used it much in game to really see how it affects enemy players, but I've heard it can be good. Leave it alone. But for me, weapon selection really isn't necessarily about the specific gun as much all the time. It tends to go back to the caliber. So right now I'm running the 5.8 by 42, the DVP 88s for normal raids, and I'm using the tier 5 ammo for this caliber for my lockdown raids that I'm going to be getting into here probably sometime over this weekend. But the whole point that I'm trying to get at is the best way to figure out which gun works the best, because it's a question I see a lot on Reddit. It's a question I see in comment sections on other YouTubers' videos. It's what's the best gun, and there isn't necessarily a best gun in this game. This isn't that kind of game. The rounds have a lot to do with it, and this season there's been a big change to how ammo works with armor, and that too is going to play into what guns are going to be usable. You know, for calibers like 5.56, you know, it's still not the best caliber by any means. I actually just recently sold off all my A1 because I don't want it. I don't want the junk 5.56 ammo like that. I've got an M995 that I'll use for that I will be using for lockdown raids, forbidden raids, that kind of thing. But as for right now, we are mostly focused on modifications. I'll kind of go back. I'm gonna leave the firing range now and show you a few of my modifications, just to give you an idea. Because even though ammo does a lot, it means a lot in a firefight, particularly when you're talking about higher tiered armor that you're facing off against, you definitely want to level the playing field as much as possible with your ammo. Excuse me. Going the wrong way. So I'll give you a couple examples here of some guns. The H416K is kind of and the AR1 are kind of my examples of close range guns, whereas my Mark 14 is more my mid to long range kind of setup, and that's really my goal for everything. The AR-57 is a mid range gun. Down here I've got some more guns. I've got a VSS that is, again, done up as really a close range gun in that case. You got the Ace-31 that is done up as a mid-range gun. I can reach out a little bit longer, but not super long range. And then I've got an M110 for longer range. And the only other gun I think I have is the AUG that, again, I've got set up for mid-range in mind, where I can go into close range and be quite comfortable in mid close range. I think I just said that right. I hope so. But it has a lot to do with well, for me, I basically build a lot of my guns the same way, and this is an example of my mid to long range kind of setup. With an M4A1, you can do a lot, and really, the guns that are highly modular to me are the best. I don't want any of the cheap SMGs that don't work great. That you can't really do much to. You can't add too many parts to it. I don't like that. But if you give me an AK-74N, which somewhere I've got one that's completely deconstructed, but you give me an AK-74N, I am perfectly happy with that because I can mod the hell out of that and turn that into a really decent gun. And so I think really that's the biggest thing you have to consider when you're thinking what weapon is going to work best for you. Is, for me, the first thing that really put me ahead when I started doing it in raids was sticking to specific calibers that I liked. But when I did that, it was back in Season 4, and I was consistently getting out of raids because I was running 5.56 A1s, and I knew the recoil pattern. So I could aim to the chest and let the recoil take the muzzle of the gun up to the head. And I was killing operators left, right, and center. I was wiping teams. I was doing good for myself. A1's not as good, so it's out of my bag. Right now, my main calibers are, as I said, the 5.8 and the 5.45 by 39. Both of those have recoil that I can manage easily. I don't need to be concerned with I don't need to be as concerned with the effects. I know the effects for the 5.8. It is literally the second best cartridge in almost every tier of ammo when you're talking rating every bullet. And the 5.45, the BPs, those are decent. There's nothing to brag about, but they're going to do the job. And for me, more or less, it's the recoil it's the ability to control that recoil, because even within one caliber, just changing the tier of ammo can impact the recoil a lot. A perfect example of that would be the 7.62 by 51, the M80s. You go up from I think it's the BPZ to the M80s, and holy crap, the difference. It's massive, dude. It is massive. So, just a few details to keep in mind. I hear a lot of different YouTubers talking about, well, this gun is great. You use this particular build. The last thing that I'm going to leave you guys with here is play around with builds. There's particular builds, and like if you see some of the way I build some of my guns, I've got the tilt foregrip. I've got the 3x holographic combination sight on almost every single gun. I mean, on the Mark 14, on the AR1. AR-57 doesn't, but it's literally on almost every other gun that I have set up for mid to long range. It is a sight that I'm very comfortable with, And I like it. And that's just enough reason for me to use it. A lot of people talk shit about that particular site. They don't like it. I love it. It's really a lot of your gun builds. The best gun builds that you put together are probably going to be the ones that you build completely out of your own preference, disregarding any of these big streamers or YouTubers tips and tricks. Just build a gun you like and you are comfortable with. That's how you do it. With that, I'm gonna conclude this video, and we'll see you the next time.